What's going on, guys? It's Tetrosphere. Forgive the voice. I am currently fighting off some sort of respiratory infection. My throat's killing me, but I do have some tea with honey. So, we're going to go ahead and jump into this What to Expect in the December Points Update article from the Konami blog. Let's see. And this is a fresh read for me. I'm not going to waste my voice on meaningless stuff. Okay, so. Severe performance outliers. This includes cards both on a deck level and an individual level. For example, Draco Tail's performance as a deck since October puts it in line for increases. Joel and Lockbird's performance as an individual card puts it in line for an increase as well. More so in North America than in Europe, which is interesting. I agree that that's interesting. As always, this is the most important criteria and the fundamental principle of Genesys. Cards seeing excessive play see their costs go up, other cards come down, while keeping OTKs boxed out. Everything listed below is just part of our initial ongoing early access tuning. Once we exit early access, it'll be a bit different, and we'll be talking a lot about the long-term Genesys plans soon, and those plans are pretty extensive. To put it another way, everything listed below is going to be a performance outlier unless we hit it now. That's what early access is all about, setting up the initial points list. Once we hit early access, the purely consensus approach will take over more. Although we'll still need to assign some points to new cards right out of the gate, which isn't perfect. See branded below. On to the categories. Cards that attack the deck / extra deck. We mentioned Runic last time, but this category also includes Hekahan's Gygus, Hekahan's Xeno, Keeltoon Clip, and Keeltoon Q from Phantom Revenge, all of which proactively strike out or steal cards from the deck / extra deck, so we're hitting them in advance. So that's good to know. They will hit cards on release. They're doing it. Great. Cards that multiply excessively. Dodo Dodo Warrior is the poster card for this category. Cards that insulate turn 1 combos. In Pittsburgh, players started gravitating en masse towards cards like Designator and Rafflesia that help you force through your turn 1 combos, even if your opponent has a way to respond. The price on these kinds of cards at the moment is a bit too much of a bargain for how much you stand to gain. Basically, the counters to the counters should be more expensive than the counters themselves. We might need to go into this more in another article. So Rafflesia is currently at 10 points, and she might see an increase. That's interesting. Towers monsters. Likewise, we're going to crank up the cost of monsters like Liger Dancer. Yes! And Super Quantal Met King Great Magnus. Okay, sure. So that you have fewer points to give them generic backup. Okay. This is phenomenal news. I don't really care so much about the Super Quant. Liger Dancer needs to be a lot of points. So we'll see how that goes. Readjusting extra deck monsters that get you another card. Separate from ones that cheat out another extra deck monster, these are ones that just get you another card in the same way. Gaga Gaga Girl and Wind Up Carriers and Mighty are both cards in this category. Okay, so another hit to Anamat there, but again, they're not talking about Rongo. Themes that weren't tempting. Last time we reduced the points on some themes that were popular internally but not externally. We'll do it again this time. Dragon Maid, Sword Soul, Tenyi, Snake Eyes, Ninjas, and maybe some Centurion and 6 Samurai, although they're trickier. I am super happy to hear that Sword Soul is coming down in points. I think that deck is perfectly great for the format. Dragon Maid coming down could be great as well. Without Link monsters, I don't see Snake Eye doing anything. Reweighting some point distributions. As example of this is the Adventurer cards, where Rite of Aramasir and Water Enchantress are at 5 each, while the high-spec Griffin Riders at 20. Gladiator Beasts and Cristrons are also being looked at for this. A more high-profile case is Branded, where the Fallen and the Virtuous came out, and we figured everybody would want to play it in 3, so we balanced things by putting more points in the extra deck monsters. From what we're hearing, most Branded players would have been perfectly happy with just 1 or 2 copies of their new spell, and would have preferred the extra deck cost to stay where they were. So we're going to make that correction. Okay, that's cool. This is an example of how when we hit cards before they're out, we might guess wrong sometimes. But we're happy to correct that with the next list. Awesome. 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 I'm glad that they're willing to address when they feel like they hit something wrong and then quickly correct it. That's just great. Generic housekeeping. There are several handy generic cards almost no one is using at their current values that will drop. We're also still figuring out how gradual to make these declines. If a card isn't played but then drops to 0, suddenly everyone would play 3 and then it just yo-yos back and forth. There's a sweet spot somewhere. The next update after this one will happen around the release of Burst Protocol. There are no official large-scale Genesys events between now and then, so the primary purpose of that update will be to add points to cards released in Burst Protocol and adjust other costs based on the addition of BPRO. Okay, so this is a pretty good article. That they addressed, they named a few things that I was concerned that they didn't name in the last article. Droll, Liger Dancer, some Automat stuff. Again, still no mention of Punk or Archmage or Odeon seeing more points, which I'm a little concerned about. But hey, we'll see what happens. I think this is pretty good. So the Automat thing with like Rongo, if Rongo doesn't go up, but Automat is now so many more points that Rongo just isn't practical, then that effectively does the same thing. So okay, fine if you don't want to hit Rongo. I would consider Rongo a Towers, which they mention Towers monsters here, but they don't mention Rongo. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It seems like, though, in some capacity, whether it's through Rongo or through the actual archetype itself, Automat is going to see some more points. They already mentioned Radiant Typhoon and Runic. They're hitting some Phantom Revenge stuff on release, so that's obviously really great. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. Generic housekeeping, that could be literally anything, so who knows. Nothing really, like, massive here. Just, I'd say the biggest news here is the Liger. I'd say that's huge. We'll see what happens. They said they're shooting for the 15th for the update, so we'll know here in about 5 days where exactly everything's at. But yeah, this is great. This is a lot less concerning than the article that we read yesterday. The only thing I'm still not liking is that they didn't mention Odeon, Archmage, or Punk, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, I wish I had more to say, but I really don't, because kind of everything here is stuff we've been talking about, right? So I'm just glad they're addressing at least some of the stuff. I really appreciate you guys checking out the video. I will see you on the next one. Peace.